Today I'll be reviewing the Nikon 50mm f1.8G. So this is a FX or DX lens for Nikon. It will work. It will work on your FX cameras. It'll also work on your DX cameras. It's an AFS lens, so it has the internal motor. So it'll work on the 3000, 3100, 5000, 5100, any camera body that doesn't have an internal motor, this will work. So I used to own the 50mm 1.8D AF lens, and I used to use that on the D3000. There was no autofocus. I liked it because it was a very sharp lens. This is also a very sharp lens, and it's also not that expensive. The 51.8D is cheaper than this because it doesn't have the AFS motor, and it also doesn't. This one has newer glass and some better elements in it. It's a very nice lens. Right now these are retailing for about $220, I would say. So it's not that expensive compared to the 50mm 1.4G, which is I believe in some cases almost 500, a lot more expensive. So this lens is nice. It's very lightweight compared to the 35 DX 1.8G lens that I'm using to film with right now. This one I think is actually lighter. It's bigger though than the 35, especially when you put the lens hood on. The lens hood it's pretty big for the lens. It has a 58mm thread, so bigger than the 35 1.8 thread. It's got full-time manual override when you have the MA, so you can do manually focus when you're in auto. It's very nice. Yeah, it's a great lens. Even for the DX cameras, which I use, it's a good. You can do it for portraits and whatnot. It's a good walk-around lens. It's about a 70. Let me calculate that out. About 70 something millimeter equivalent, I believe, on a crop sensor. It's definitely, yeah. So it's more on the short telephoto end on the crop sensor, which is good in some cases. The 35 is also 35 1.8 is really useful for a standard in crop sensor. So I guess we'll show you some sample images from this lens. First one being at a fall retreat that I was on this past fall. If you see in this one, there's some lighting on the stage, but it's still pretty low lighting. Having the wide open aperture in this situation, having the 1.8, the really high aperture is very useful in this kind of in this setting, because there wasn't a lot of light to work with. Mind you, I was using the D5100, so I was bumping the ISO up pretty high as well, but letting all that light in really made a difference. There's a little bit of blur in the other person to the right, but I actually was focused on the two other people on the left side, so that's where the focus point was. As you can see, yeah, in low light situations it performs really well and is very sharp. Very good glass. The next photo I'm gonna put up on the screen. This one is my younger brother just doing some portraits outside. What I really like about this one compared to the 35 is the bokeh in the back. If you look at it, it's really nice bokeh in the back. The way that the lens renders that, it's really nice. See, like the bokeh balls, they're pretty smooth, and it's not distracting. Bokeh, it's very smooth. It really brings out the image. So that's one of the advantages of this lens, especially when you're shooting portraits. You get better compression than a 35 because you're shooting more on a telephoto end. Next image I'm putting up is this is of Love South Sudan event, where we're doing an event where we're packing seed packets for South Sudan. Again, this is a good example of how this lens takes care of the out of focus elements, the bokeh in the back. And yeah, this was shot at 2.8, so this wasn't shot wide open, and as you can see, it's still at 2.8 will blow out the background pretty well, and it's still very sharp. You can see a lot of detail in the face and whatnot. It's a really nice lens. And finally, this is of the same event, the South Sudan event, and this is outside advertising for the event. Again, you can just see the way the colors are good, the background is good, and the subject is sharp. So overall, yeah, I'd have to say that this is a great lens for Nikon users, DX or FX. It's very sharp. You could go for the 1.4, it's a lot more money, but this is a newer lens. It has better glass in it because of that. I mean, the 1.4 is going to give you that extra, I believe, 2/3 stop light, but honestly, with the cameras the way they are now, you probably won't need that, just because the ISO capabilities of the Nikons they've been releasing recently, you're not going to need that extra 2/3 stop. So this would be suitable. It's only $220. It's not a bad price, and it performs really well. I'm extremely satisfied with it. If you have any questions about the lens or any of my other gear, just put a comment below, send me a message, and I hope to do some more reviews on some of my other equipment.